Hello to anyone listening. So I just binge watched uh, the first 3 episodes of the Harry and Meghan docu-series, and it was quite a trip. So I said this before, but I didn't watch the Oprah interview. I've only experienced the Oprah interview really through clips that people like cut out to make points at various times during arguments and things online. And but I've heard the highlights. I read so many articles about the Oprah interview, so I feel like I've watched it. But okay, so the thing about that is, though, the reason I kind of chose not to watch it, I didn't go out of my way to watch this because I was feeling it all too much. I had seen it all happening going down from day one. I was a Suits fan, so when it was announced that Harry and Meghan were dating, I thought, I was one of the few million people in the world who actually knew of her, and I was a fan of her and the rest of the cast, but especially her. And I found her likable and funny and warm and like cool and a feminist, and that was relatable. I've said this before, but I do consider and I can imagine how there is that little bit of distance, even for an empathetic person, when you have never heard of someone and you just know them through this like news of who they're dating. That would cause a little bit of in our world, because of the way women are perceived, the subconscious biases people have against women, that's like almost like it almost creates an air of hostility for some people. People are like, who? And then they're immediately like, I've never heard of her. And they can immediately invent, and it feels right to invent a narrative where this woman like sought him out and she's a gold digger and all this stuff because you've never heard of her. So she's clearly a nobody, and it's just easier to kind of dehumanize her when when you didn't know her before that. Um, yeah, for some people, uh, too many people. So yeah, that seeing that play out, seeing people be so um uncharitable and unkind towards her and express such hostility towards her, and how that grew and grew and grew, and people would just make up the most outlandish claims about her and then treat them like they were true. And how like it's the part of the depressing bit of this is like just how easy it is to malign women. Like I've said this before, but it's like when a man is accused of something, people demand proof. People are like, you can't just, I mean, this is like I feel like men would just never experience this. It's hard enough to like when someone with a name, when it's not anonymous, not to talk of if someone were to like just make an account on, say, Quora and say like Johnny Depp, did this to my friend. People would like just no, that's not. I'm not treating this as true. Who are you? And no name, just a random person who claims they've met Johnny Depp or Ryan Reynolds or Harry Styles, whoever. It's like people are like, I need like borderline nothing short of video evidence before I even consider believing this wild claim. Meanwhile, women live in a reality where, I've said this before, but it's like you don't even need to make the negative claim for people to believe it. It's almost like women, especially if they have a certain look, the claim is there, the bad perception, the negative perception, the conniving thing, the manipulative thing, it's already there. You're already cast as that, as Megan kind of said, before you speak. Like you don't even need to be accused. You're already that. And now you're actually, women kind of live in a world where they're working backwards. You kind of have to prove you're not that to us. Like, already I've never heard of you, so I can just see you as a gold digger, conniving, manipulative type, and so prove that you're not, if anything. The racist bias is the other one. The racist, the racial, and they talked about that. Harry mentioned that a few times, the unconscious racial bias that people can have. Or did he just say unconscious bias? Or did he specifically say racial? I don't remember. But he did talk about unconscious biases a couple of times. And that is a very true, real thing. I mean, it's just like, when you think about what we are as a species, of course, it's like you're raised a certain way, you're raised around a certain people, you learn history a certain way, you see patterns in how people are treated and regarded, you see patterns in how they're portrayed in the media. It does something to how you view them. It does something to how you connect to them, how you're able to empathize with them, the ease at which you're able to empathize with them, and the ease at which you're able to vilify them. And this can be a gendered thing. Women, I think, generally are working against negative stereotypes harder. And then, men, it varies. It like, I think men of color kind of know that they share that experience with women and much of the time, except the exception is in their communities where they are the pedestalized one between the male and the female. Like, in the black community, yeah, like to the broader community, white people will, prejudge and have a tendency to negatively judge and subconsciously negatively judge like a black man. But in the black community, the black man over the black woman would be the one to have favor. So there's layers to this, basically. And so she gets into this family, or gets associated with his family, dating Harry, and then going on to get engaged to Harry, and then marrying Harry. And seeing all that play out as a fan, it was very difficult to see, as an Instagrammer as well, how nasty so many people were to her. I was like on, pages that did support both of them, and there was always, I don't even know to, like, back in the day, I didn't call them Kate fans. At a point, I was very upset, so I started calling them Kate's freaks, because I'm like, this is not fandom, because you people were not even here like this for Kate before. But now, every time Meghan is posted, there's like dozens to hundreds of comments saying, Kate did it so much better. Or what really became the norm was whenever Kate would do anything anymore, there used to be bits of criticism, because I actually followed the Kensington page separately from Meghan. It was such an interesting thing where these two sort of worlds merged. But I remember I followed them right after I followed NASA. I can't remember if they were suggested, but I did follow the Kensington page. I'm like, I didn't know they had Instagram, and the interesting thing too about that was I was new to Instagram when I started following them. I vaguely remember that period. I had just for the first time gotten a proper smartphone. I had been carrying a dumb phone before that, a flip phone, and I got my first smartphone. So I was new to apps. I was new to the world of apps, and I downloaded Instagram, and it was funny. I had been hearing all this stuff about it, and then I downloaded it, and I went on a following spree. And I remember I followed NASA, then I followed the Kensington page, when it was called that at the time, I think. And and then I followed Meghan Markle later. I followed all of the cast of Suits, and because I was just finding out all the different celebrities I was aware of are actually on this thing, and on the app. So so that's how I experienced that. And I remember reading, I would go in the comments when they would post Kensington page, and it was just like, why isn't Kate ever at these things? And, oh, we miss Kate again. And, because she was she had a, not great work track record. And people would criticize this, and then the media would also criticize this. They would call her Duchess Doolittle because of how infrequently she worked, and it was a thing, and it was a thing they would openly criticize. And then came Meghan. Meghan's tied to this family, and all of a sudden they stopped criticizing Kate, they stopped criticizing William, and it became their press. It became like the press was like, now it was like, it felt like Kate had been rebranded as perfect because she used to be flawed and treated as a flawed human, even though she was gushed about too. But they would occasionally criticize her, and then the criticism even stopped. And she was like, it was like they were framing her as the impossibly perfect, purely white Duchess versus the murky, mixed race, mutt Duchess. That is Meghan, and not how I view her, by the way, but those are things she's been called by her hate base, by people in her hate base, by people who hate her. Okay, so here we are in 2022. This Harry and Meghan docu-series comes out, and I'm committed to watching it, even though the hatred has basically stayed the same, and it's been just as frustrating as ever. People will just say lies, and when you corner them with how absurd what they're saying is and how it's unverified, unprovable, or disproven, they will block you. That's the pattern I've experienced, is getting blocked a lot. I am polite, like most of the time. Sometimes I'm like, I will call out, this is such, but my impolite is like, this is such a dumb thing to believe. It's not like name calling, or like once I said to a Gary Janetti fan, I said, who said, I was having a bad day, and then I saw you make fun of Archie being the 7th in line, and that cheered me up. And I said, well, maybe you deserve that bad day. And then Gary Janetti blocked me. So, I mean, that's how mean I get. And, yeah, it's so absurd, though. Because it's the same kind of lies that they repeat over and over, and then they'll do this thing so often where they accuse Meghan of all these things that they are guilty of, like lying. They are the liars. They have lied about her so much. It's their bread and butter. It's their go-to. It's the well that they will not stop accessing until it's dry. They will pee in it to fill it with wetness to pull that up. I think that's a perfect analogy, because that is what they are doing. That's like what they're doing. It's just, they'll make it up. They'll add the filth to the well and dig it up and say, we've got more of this, and it's just them repeating their lies, their input, and this documentary, now onto the documentary, I watched all 3 parts, 3 hours basically. It's very good. It's very, very good. It's really well done. And I am reminded, though, there were so many moments, there were so many feelings, and I was reminded of why I didn't want to watch the Oprah interview. Because there were so many points over the year since the Oprah interview where people would pull out clips. They would go mini viral on Twitter or something, and I'm like, oh, she actually said this, she actually covered this. And that was on mainstream television, and people still attacked her, like, even though she clarified things very well, very articulately, very clearly. She clearly explained her feelings about privacy, and it was such a logical thing, and it was factual. She never said she was leaving for privacy, but people still use the privacy thing against her. So it's like, in watching this, the realization I had that made the experience not great was I started to feel like this is so brilliant, and it was this weird thing where I'm like, the more I'm feeling like this is brilliant, I'm loving that they're addressing this. Oh, they're just going ahead and saying this. Oh, they're, Harry's being so like straightforward and honest, and Meghan's being so open about like how they did the engagement interview in real life, and she just straight up, explains, I didn't Google him, but I Instagrammed him because that's how we met. Basically, was through Instagram, and I love that clarity, and it makes sense how they cleaned it up to say we were introduced by a friend, because in a sense they were, and I get the like why they had to give their answers in a more like perfunctory, clean sounding way. Like, you don't say I met him through Instagram, I guess, as a royal. But and I love that. I love how they met. Oh, so many joys. But the overall thing, like after it's all done, after I've watched it, it's like, and the thing that had been building, where I'm feeling weird, it's like, it's so hard to articulate. I'm feeling better, and like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad they said this. But something is like gnawing at me, and I didn't like realize it till after it was all done, that it might not matter. Like, it will matter maybe in the grand scheme of things, in the long term, that this exists, and this is their own words. No misconstruing, no lying on them like you could with Diana. No invalidating her words by calling her paranoid like William did. Like, it's still true what she said. Everything she said is still true. Like, it doesn't even matter how they got it. It's not like she made up lies because she was paranoid, or she made up lies because of anything. She just said the truth, and she needed like convincing to tell the truth. And it was part of me, I wonder about that. I wonder if I can even trust that official story that it was procured in a dishonest way. Because like, I am very aware now, the BRF, they'll say kind of anything to like reclaim narratives. They'll say anything to like remain. That's like their whole thing. The purpose of them is to exist. It's like so they'll say anything, and part of that would include, for the new generation, invalidating Diana's criticisms by not letting newer generations view it. So it's like, it's good that they put this out here, because there's never it's going to be pretty damn hard to like do that to Harry and Meghan. But my issue is like, I almost feel like, and I worry that everything they say, they can have full receipts. They can say it with the receipts. They can say it with first-hand accounts. They can like how Meghan was supposedly they like a rumor, a thing they kept saying to like make Thomas seem like the good guy, is that he raised Meghan alone. And I would always ask, where did you get that from? Like, that doesn't sound right. That's wrong. He hasn't even said that, and he's contradicted himself about how she was raised. And then Meghan in this just said straight up, my mom had me 5 days a week, and I was with my dad on weekends. And that feels right, because that would be that's the norm post-divorce. And but it, like, weirdly, potentially, I'm just a few hours out of this after watching this, but potentially this doesn't matter. I just like, because the truth never mattered. The truth straight from her mouth, the truth with receipts, the truth like the Sussex squad were providing, it kind of never mattered. The truth, this was not about the truth for most of these people. There are a few like dum-dums who are like learning, they think they're learning facts by watching, Murky Meghan, according to Taz, the body language guy, and they're like, oh my gosh, really? She wore Diana's perfume? Like, stuff like that. And they think that's true because someone said it. But I think most of them, they don't even think that's true. They just hate her and they're going to push whatever is negative that's said about her. And so she can say, like, what the story she paints of how they met, how they courted, like, where would you have heard that? How would that have leaked to you, to anyone, that she wore Diana's perfume? Like, if we're being actual critical thinkers here, that never made sense. Like, who would she have told that to? Why would anyone know that? That's something, if she did, she wouldn't tell anyone. So, and so she was not a royalist, she was not a Diana fan like that. I guess I came away from this feeling like both things hard. I felt hopeful and hopeless at the same time. That's my end feeling, is like, but they don't have to watch this. They don't have to, or they can watch it out of curiosity and then they can ignore it. Because again, for most of these people, it's never been about truth. They know they're lying, most of them. So they can just carry on being racist, but expressing it in a way where they hide that, being covert racist and hiding it, as covert implies. And you know, I mean, I guess the good part is like that it exists and it will always be, and you can't, you know, you can't, like, I don't know, you can't push a lie too far, because there is an official statement about so many things that Meghan has been accused of from Meghan and Harry, and their dynamic was so warm, it was so sweet, and it was so lovely and loving. And I see now, like, I already was kind of fantasizing about it, and I was getting that impression from their little interactions over these years, but like, they really are like connect. I feel that now. I feel it so like differently. I get what their friends see, what Jamil sees, what, you know, Tyler Perry sees. They're really legit connected, and their chemistry is like very real, and the way they just talk to each other, there's such a comfort, like, to see them behind the scenes of these things, like seeing them behind the scenes at the NAACP awards. They were so, like, I mean, Harry was nervous, but it was like weirdly a comfortable nervous. It was like they're just real, they're just them, they're like a mom and a dad, and they're silly, and like, I mean, I already kind of gleaned all this, but to see it is something else. It adds a layer, and it makes it, you know, sweeter, and it makes me smile wider, but it hurts more. I'm gonna be honest, it makes it all a little more hurtful, because, you know, the haters, they're the deranged, they're not, they are free to discard this. They are free to ignore this. They are free to roll their eyes. They are free to claim this or treat this like it never happened, you know, and carry on being abusive and racist. And like, why wouldn't they? Like, if you're a racist, you're not going to be swayed to not be a racist because something you never even believed was proven to be false. You know, it's just gonna continue in the same way it has, or it has the potential, I realized watching this, to continue. And I don't mean to be so pessimistic, because it was a beautiful, oh my gosh, it was so well done. Did I say that? It was so well done. It's so good. And I'm glad it will exist forever, and you know, I'm glad they did this. This was a necessary thing to do, to have official statements on things. I loved how comfortable Meghan was just like saying stuff like, oh, we like went straight from the like engagement announcement to like in the engagement interview, and it was rehearsed. I love that openness, and like I feel like I remember royalty, British royalty pre like 2016, pre Meghan. There was room for this. There was room for, like, Kate and William, they were on like a BBC radio interview, and like, while I do think Kate underperformed, and it was a weird energy between them where she was just, I don't know, she's not good at interviews, I guess, but like, but there was personal stuff shared. There was like room like that. This is the modern monarchy. This is the modern the younger couples, like there was room for them to do that. There was room for Meghan to do that. And in a different world, if Meghan were, fully white, perhaps it would have been viewed like with warmth, or received with warmth by people, that oh, the couple is sharing the little details about, and like, oh, they shared a picture of from their reception. Like, people would love, like, if Kate and William did that. Yeah, either time really, pre-Meghan, post-Meghan, people would praise it. I guess the especially is that there was just no, like, there was no pretending about protocol. There was no, and like, I like how Harry said, protocols that they make up. Yeah, like we got that. Like, that must have been like 50, like half or more of what I was arguing about, especially in that first year, was like, oh, she broke this protocol, and I'm like, okay, cite me where this protocol, like, where is your protocol? Because I looked it up. There is no protocol about hand holding. There is no protocol about who goes first here. You're just making shit up to like have a reason to be mean to her. What is this? Like, or more. I see this. I see what you're doing. This is not even a reasonable thing to be upset about. These are nothing things. This, now at the time, then was the thenest time it's ever been. At the time when I was living it, when we were living it, now that was the now times, and that was the nowest time we had ever lived. By that, it's just my way of saying it was the most modern time we'd ever lived in. So if you're a person of 2018, 2019, you're like, you should be smart enough to go, what am I raging about right now? This is dumb. Maybe even if this is a protocol, maybe I shouldn't care this much, because like, who cares what color her nail polish is? This is such an absurd thing to be, critiquing. Like, who cares? Like, why am I acting like a slave to made up rules? Like, none of this matters. Like, it could have been the opposite. If the protocol were the opposite, you'd just be to me, like, why does this matter? And again, that's where we get to, my bullshit meter just goes off. It's like, this is not about nail polish. This is not about closing your own door. This is not about the order you walk, Harry decides to walk with Meghan. This, he's, his nature is to be chivalrous, so he has her walk in front of him. This is not about that, because if William did this, you wouldn't care. You would think it was so sweet. This is about your prejudice against Meghan specifically, and you're being so dishonest to pretend it's about anything else, making a whole channel just to like be nasty to her. This is who does that but someone with racial prejudices who is coping with them in the only way they can in fill-in current year. It's so obvious is the thing. But highlights are that Doria, oh my gosh, Doria, I like almost started crying. I didn't cry, but because I felt like she was gonna cry, and it's like, finally, this is like, if nothing else, this made it worth it. See, just Doria finally speaking, and I love their openness about race, and I related to that. I related to like having like a sort of borderline, for me it was like a utopian existence where, I know it's like such a annoying thing to hear, but we didn't see race. We really didn't. It was like we kind of were all interchangeable when I was a kid, and that was my norm. I also grew up in a very diverse city, and it was so comfortable and normal, and I really wouldn't even recognize how weird my classmates, my school was, because my school was very diverse, my elementary and high school, until I would go on field trips. That's where I would see kids, and they would be like, it would be classrooms of all white children, classrooms of all black children, classrooms of all, sometimes Asian, Eastern Asian kids, sometimes classrooms of all Southern Asian kids. There were sometimes classrooms of like just Muslim girls in hijabi, and or not classrooms, but classes, like on the field trip, yeah. And so I relate to that, living in this like sort of diversity bubble of you, like this utopian bubble of diversity. That's I guess a better way to say that. And like kind of not seeing color. But I mean, you see it, but it's like it's nothing. And friends, like there were no racial cliques. Like everyone, like I think back, all the group and art again very diverse, especially my elementary school. All the groups were so like the European kids, like European because they're like first gen kids, like their parents are immigrants, or sometimes they were immigrants. A lot of Romanians, a couple Bosnians. They were intermingled. They weren't just to themselves. They were like they would be friends with the American mutts from like multiple generations of white, whose like lineage in America is much further along, further down. Then there would be black kids and mixed kids mixed with black kids, you know, hanging out. Like everyone was just hanging out with everyone. Eastern Asian kids hanging out with black kids, white kids, just there. And the friend groups were truly based on personality. Like it was really like I was kind of spoiled with diversity. It happened in the best way. And then it's kind of like I went out into the real world. I left, like I first got a taste of it in high school because my high school was very diverse, relatively speaking. But that was the first time I saw like racial cliques. That I was not used to that. In high school is when I saw like it would be like Latino, Latina, Latinx kids just hanging together, and then sometimes groups of just like the European kids, the immigrant kids, and then like the whitey white kids who aren't immigrants or aren't related to, or not related to, but they aren't like they're immigrants. Their immigrant grandparents go much further back. And then the black kids would like be hanging with each other, and it was more segregated, but there was still a lot of mixing, like tons and tons of mixing, and quite a few interracial romances, many. So like even like that was less diverse, but it was still very diverse, especially when I went to other high schools and saw, oh, this is like a white school. This is like all like 90% white kids, or schools with mostly black kids, like those are the main ones. So I got to experience diversity, and I understood how Meghan was like. She kind of was like that. She like seemed to grow up in a pretty diverse place where race was not a factor. She was not getting hostile treatment because of her race in like diverse California, the part of California in which she lived. And I experienced that too. So it's like it's true that she didn't, I can see how it's true that she didn't experience that racist hostility until she was in a very white, very racist. It's inherently racist. So yes, very racist, because the whole structure is racist. Again, it depends on people. Like there's an unspoken thing where you're supposed to marry people of your class, and they're so serious about preserving that. For the longest time they were, that it was preferable to marry your cousin than a common white person, even not to talk of a brown person. Are you kidding me? It's inherently racist. It's so unideal to have a Meghan in a family like that, I think. And it isn't just race. There's other factors here. The feminist thing, not great. The American thing, not great. But I think race was the biggest thing. It's like they didn't want to like excise Harry's children because his wife is a feminist. They didn't want to excise Harry's children or from the line of succession because his wife is a liberal or a American. Or it's because of the black thing. It's the black thing. That was, I think, the biggest thing. And it was just a dirty game. And I mean, there's every possibility it would have been literally just as dirty and cruel, but in a different way, minus the racial component. if or the racist component, if Meghan had been Emma Stone, redheaded, fellow ginger, and white, fully white, I think that kind of person would have more support. But I mean, at the end of the day, the heir has to be on top, and if you have this charming, the overly charming wife of the spare, outshining you, and they're so in love and they're so warm to each other and holding hands, I can imagine that they would absolutely be attacking in a pretty similar, minus the racism way, a fully white version of Meghan. And it just, if she's charming, if she's just like, same Meghan, same personality, or basic, if she just outshines Kate, basically, if she's capable of outshining Kate at all, if she's like puts her money where her mouth is as far as doing the work, if she's not lazy, if she's like she's contrasted to Kate in that way, in that noticeable way, I think it would have been her undoing too. I do, because like that is the biggest thing, is it's just doubly, it's just two things that were working against Meghan. The race thing, because it helped feed the racists of the country, but then also the outshining the heir and his wife thing. That was a problem. And the remedy was smear campaign like you've never fucking seen in your life. Let's go. And they did that. They're still doing it. Like the article I saw the other day, it's so absurd. I can't believe people don't just laugh, like criticizing Meghan for wearing white. It's like, and that feels dog whistly too. That feels like that actually feels like not even, I mean, it could be a racial dog whistle, but it also feels like a really not sexist, misogynistic dog whistle of something, implying she's not pure, implying that, because that's like where it leads. That's what people say. They like, and this, here we are when we're talking about stuff like this. This is beyond, like, they can't even hide behind, oh, I'm just criticizing her. She just hates criticism. She's too sensitive. When we're talking about stuff like when the insults get into this avenue of she's a whore, of she's slept with this one and that one and that one, so clearly she's a whore, and oh, that was debunked too. The thing where they were saying she was dating Corey Vidal or whoever, and then she's like left that guy to date Harry. Nope, she went on vacation, single, and it's so funny. I don't know, like, just before all of this, before she was tied to Harry, when I was just knew her as a Suits fan, just Meghan Markle, there was some, I don't know if it was an article or something I saw where she, like, bought I can't remember if it was a ring or a watch, but she bought herself some, like, really expensive, nice jewelry, and she explained in the article that she did it as, like, a present to herself because, she's committed to herself. This was, like, after her divorce, I think, like, maybe just after it, and it was, like, and I felt that, like, oh, that single woman energy of, like, yeah, like, I'm gonna do bad by myself. I am my wife. I am my spouse, and I'm good with that. Like she said, not quite that, she said something in that realm of, like, I'm, it was like a Carrie Bradshaw moment of, like, she bought those, was it Manolos, for her, like, marriage to herself parties, or something like that in Sex and the City. But, like, yeah, Meghan did something that seemed similar, where she's just like, I'm gonna treat myself. I don't need a husband to buy me this ring or this watch or whatever it was. I'm gonna do it for me. And I'm single and I'm happy, and I mean, I love men and I love love, but I am not gonna put up with anything less than my soulmate. I left a whole marriage because it wasn't my soulmate, and I will not have anything less than soulmate. And that was the vibe I got before she was with Harry, and then she got Harry. She found, and, like, I really feel it, and it's like almost tear inducing. Maybe I'll cry later. But it's so sweet. Their love story is so freaking sweet. And getting off of that now, it just popped into my head. They mentioned the bastard man, the dirty motherfucker, Jason Knopf. They mentioned him, and she didn't shy, and her whole vibe was, I'm gonna say the things. I'm gonna say the things. I'm gonna address the bullshit about my sister. And I mean, we'll be able to use it. So they'll claim these things. Because they're still gonna claim them. They're still gonna lie about her. That's something I kind of accepted. Like that, or more, I'm kind of accepting it now because I was like realizing that's the downside of this, is like this exists, but they're still gonna attack her. It doesn't really matter what the truth is. But the kind of good side, we have it. Like, people who watch this will have this if they get into those um, arguments. Of course, no, you most likely will be blocked. If it's on Twitter or Instagram, you will almost certainly be blocked because these people don't care about the truth, and they can't have you like truth tellers mucking up their mentions, their like replies, because then they look like a crazy liar, and so they'll quickly block you, and then they'll just have sort of a circle jerk of sorts, um, an echo chamber of liars who will mirror their lies back to them and say, yeah, I know, I can't believe she cheated, right? We're still going with that, right? Even though she painted the timeline and it does not, it contradicts this lie we've been telling, but oh my god, I'm still gonna treat it like it's true because fuck her, she took our prince. Um, and I was gonna say I was doing the wrong accent, but you know, our can mean white, because a lot of white women in not England, not non-English white women, are very upset with Meghan for that same reason. Um, some of them unaware of, they're not even aware is what I'm saying. That's what I'm emphasizing there. They're not even aware that that's why. And that's not an excuse. It's just like they have this irrational thing in them making them hate her so hard, because this is something I came across so often when I would argue back in the day, because I would always ask, why do you hate her? Like, that was always what I was trying to get to the bottom of. Why are you being so uncharitable? Why are you being so cruel, so nasty? What did she do? What did she do? She was still working royal, doing everything right, just like the occasional supposed protocol. How is this worth being angry at her? Why are you insulting her? What is this? Why? Why the hate? And there was never a reason. There was never a logical reason. It would end in me being blocked. It would end in a series of laughing emojis because they had no argument. It would end in saying, I'm just expressing my opinion. What were some of the other lovely little go-tos? It would end in them lying about claims, and then, or sometimes just not responding at all. That happened a few times. Yeah, and it's so you get the sense from, like, I got the sense from like hundreds of arguments. It took a while, but no, I got it. I just couldn't help always trying. I just, like, I knew, like, I feel like I always kind of knew. I just was a little bit in denial, but there was a part of me that was like, like, even the way I would approach it is like, that's kind of odd. Like, all she did was this, and you're upset. Why would you be upset about that? I don't understand. Because, like, I low-key knew this is about race, right? This has nothing to do with the act, because this was not an offensive act here. Closing your own car door, that's not anything to be raging about. Like, what's wrong with you? Yeah, so many beautiful moments, so many beautiful moments with the kids. Oh, I'm like gonna watch it again just for that. The kids, Archie and Lily. I'm pretty sure the clip of the walking baby, I'm pretty sure that was Lily. And oh my gosh, those kids are precious. They're so cute. And there's this one, and like just seeing little bits of their personality, where Harry's a bird watcher and Archie, like, I relate to this. I have some little ones in my life where it's like Archie was just like, I don't care about your hobby, Dad. My feet are dirty. Mommy and me were, I guess, playing dancing or whatever, and my feet are dirty, he was saying, and Harry was like, oh my god, we've got hummingbirds, and he was just like excited about the hummingbirds. And I love that, and I can relate to all the filming too. It's just like I know people are gonna spin that, but that is so normal. Like, I mean, if anyone has children, if anyone has someone they love in their life, you got a smartphone, there's so much family footage on my phone. There's so, like, I film walks, oh my gosh. So, like, I know they're gonna spin that as, like, why is she filming? because humans with cameras in these modern times film. It's like so normal. I'm already anticipating that. I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen much at all in the way of reactions actually, but I'm fresh off of this, so why would there be? It's very, I guess it's very early in England, very late in America. I should go to bed, but I'm good. I don't work tomorrow or today. Yeah, it's like so many good nuggets, so many educational nuggets, so much informative stuff. And Serena was in it, and yeah, did I gush about Doria enough? Oh my gosh, just to see her though, see her speak. Oh, I might cry. I like just felt it. I just felt the well up. Like, that was so necessary. This was like the perfect avenue for this. And whatever comes of it or doesn't, it was so worth it, and it was so necessary. On the record, this is what happened. She showed those texts. She showed those receipts. And if you looked at the UK documents for like the trial they were in, the back and forth, I think they were exposed in the when Meghan sued the Mail. I think that's where these were, like, I saw some of these. I saw her that she had this exchange. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this is why as I was reading them, I was pausing to really read them, the text between her and her dad. And it occurred to me, I've seen some of these, and that was like the feeling I couldn't put my finger on of hopelessness, despair, was that this was already available information, and people still, the racists, the liars, they still pedestalize Thomas Markle. They ignore these facts. They ignore how openly terrible of a father he was. This is so black and white. How he was bad. He was clearly bad. Selling your daughter's letter is bad. This is not a good, normal, sane way to act. And we we knew this. They knew this. They didn't need this documentary. So it occurred to me after it's all said and done. I loved it in the moment, and I love that it exists. I love that they emphasized it, but I don't think it matters. I don't think it's going to matter that much, because the deranged already knew a lot of this, and they don't care. They don't care about what's true. So that is the sad part. Accepting that really is the sad part. But, I still love it. I still love it, and I love that we have it. And before I get blocked, I can always, I have facts on my side. Very clear, pull-upable facts. When they start claiming their lies. And then, if they're gay, we can get down to, why do you hate her really, though? And I'm sure I will be blocked before it goes too far. That's the pattern. That is, I know I say that a lot, but that is the thing. I can't, to this day, I still am not good at ignoring. I'm much better though. I actually realize I can sometimes ignore, hate, but I'm still also compelled very often to respond to things I see that I know are wrong. And that is the pattern. When you confront these people with facts that contradict the lies they're spreading, they block you 8 times out of 10. 1 time out of 10 they will just ignore you, and they won't respond. And the other 1 time out of 10 is they'll just leave you with laughing emojis. And 0 times out of 10 they will say, oh, I didn't realize that. You're right, man. That changes everything. That never happens. That is literally never, not even once. And there have been arguments about completely other things where we were passionate, and that has happened. And that's rare though, in life, when you're arguing online. It's rare for people to admit their errors, admit when they're wrong. But that has happened for other things. When it comes to Meghan and Harry, Meghan specifically, especially, I point out a fact. It is met with, it's never met with admission of being wrong. Not ever. Not even 1 time. And then that, it's like, so that's more of an example of what I mean with getting a sense of, oh, this is not about the truth for them. This is not about facts for them. The glee that they get in hating her, joining forces and like on hate accounts to say the most disgusting things about her. This is not about facts and getting to the truth and exposing the truth. This is about a bunch of mostly angry white women who are very upset that a mixed race woman who in their mind stole their prince, who was once the favored prince, once the most, and I think for a lot of people he still is, actually. I just kind of found that out in my real life, which was that was a nice little confirmation. But yeah, so I don't know who's gonna watch this. I don't know how it's gonna be reported on. I know that they're not going to give up without a fight, and they're not really going to give up at all unless they're legally compelled to. They're going to, like, they have to elevate Kate as superior. That's one of their primary objectives. They have to make the monarchy, the British monarchy, remain, because it keeps intact the class system, which a lot of them benefit from, because they're from upper class families, and they are very interested in preserving that class dynamic. They're not gonna let go of or give up on just releasing their racist aggression. Like, that's another thing. Like, racist, white racists, they really get off on that feeling of superiority. It's like they're so insecure. Like, from the day they met black people, they've been extremely insecure about their position. They've had this profound need to assert dominance and superiority. And it's like, I'll shake your hand, I'll invite you to this, you can be on our show as a correspondent, you can come here, you can sit there, but I need you to know, Blackie, I need you to know, I'm your superior. Don't talk when I'm talking. Like, know your place. And for Meghan, your place is not with us, with one of our princes. It's like, So, yeah, but it was phenomenal. I've hyped myself up. I was so good. Acceptance is really nice. I think that's just what happened here. Because I was a little I said I was feeling like a sense of hopelessness. But it's like, that's okay. It's just, it'll be more of what it's been. But now we have clearly stated facts, very accessible facts, to point out when they lie, which they will, and there's more to come, 3 more parts, and I think that motherfucker, I think Jason Knopf is gonna be mentioned again. I think he's coming up again, and I think that is why, I think some very honest conversations happen behind the scenes, over the phone. Kate was informed. I feel like I can see it. I can see Meghan just being very straightforward and saying, we talk about this and this and this. And then Kate's and Will, and maybe it was just Will and Harry, they had the conversation, and so obviously Kate and all the others would find out, because now that those faces, those evil faces, that Sophie and Kate and kind of Camilla, but to a lesser extent, surprisingly, of the 3, were making, especially Sophie, that she shot her a legit dirty look at the last day, the last proper day of Queen Elizabeth's funeral. Sophie definitely shot Meghan a dirty look, and I think they know. I think Harry and Meghan are honest, and they told them, we filmed this, we said this is coming out, you know now. So yeah, I think that's what it was. And maybe even those little meetings that Charles was leaking between Harry and Meghan were to try to negotiate them not talking any further, or to axe the Netflix thing. I don't know, but it seemed like the way they were acting, particularly the women, I feel like they knew. I feel like they knew what was going to be in this, because Harry and Meghan told them, and they were not happy. And you could see it all on their faces. And they couldn't contain it, and there seemed to be a point where maybe now, I thought it was absurd at first, but maybe Kate was about to lunge at Meghan with what she knew was coming, because it's perhaps very damning. But I don't know, maybe Kate, I don't know, don't worry, Kate, because you'll have your whole royal rota defending you, calling Meghan a liar, or just completely ignoring what she said. And like, they're now starting to, like, that's the other thing that's been bothering me. They're like leeching in and slithering in, worming their way in, working their way in to American press. Now America is getting like, there are a number of shows that are like starting to sound like the British, the UK press when they talk about Harry and Meghan. So they're gonna do everything to remain on top and to vilify and malign Meghan and in turn Harry. That's what they feel they need to do to remain. Maybe it is what they need to do to remain. And they're trying to get it over here, to get the like hate for them built up in America, and get American press people to spread the same things they spread. It's like another world when you're watching UK morning shows. From all the clips I've seen, it's just like they are a united front in being hate-based central. So many of the things I would be in these arguments for years, not even realizing until like last year that so many of the things they would repeat, like calling her Meghan, like saying Meghan gets what Meghan wants, so many others I can't think of right now. They came from like they came from like Piers Morgan. They came from like royal, what do you call these people? Royal reporters, royal correspondents, I don't know. Royal idiots, royal I almost said something inappropriate. Ass kissers, I'll say that. Royal ass kissers, it came from them, and then it's sprinkled into the people. So I guess I was not altogether right in that it's just the people. Well, I never said it was just the people, but for me, since it was primarily the people, because Meghan and Harry like emphasized it's not the people, it's the press, and I'm like, no, it's the people, because that's who I was doing 90% of my arguing with, and then the occasionally would be Piers Morgan, but he's a person too, but he's like, yeah, he represents the press though, yeah. So, Sarah Vine is a racist. I love that they showed it. They showed her niggling, what was the word? Not feeling. She has a niggling worry. I love that. Oh, that was great. But you know, that thing existed in real life. So like, I don't know that Meghan and Harry highlighting it. I don't know, I feel like more and more news stations in America are getting compromised to like push the like royalist talking points. It's, like TMZ just had Angela Levine. I actually don't know how to say her last name. L for loser. They had Angela Latrine, that's what I've heard her called. Angela Loser was on TMZ. They're like, yeah, they're worming their way onto our side to convince the American public to hate Harry and Meghan. And the right was easy to buy. I've said it before. The right will side with Putin over anyone who represents the American left. So they were money in the bag. They'll be royal worshippers. They'll be monarchists are you kidding me? That's like they're borderline. That's almost what they are already. Look at how they treat Trump. They want to be ruled so bad. Like, they would absolutely live in a dictatorship. This is the mindset. It's always usually right-wing kind of people. They love those dictatorships. They love it. It means you're oppressing women, minorities, and I don't know. I guess as long as it doesn't affect the billionaires, they're fine with it. Oppressing women, minorities, anyone else who threatens the white male power structure, norm, they're all for it. They always are. They'll betray their country in a heartbeat. But my overall opinion is that I really liked it. I am now having a realistic feeling about what it will actually do. Oh, I just remember we saw Eugenie and Megan on Halloween. She talked about that on Ellen, and we actually saw pictures from that. Oh, I felt such a sense of being let in. I mean, that's literally what it was. We were let in, and it was so like, oh, and there was so in the beginning there was a weird like voyeuristic feeling for real. Like I felt like this is inappropriate. I shouldn't be seeing this. And then like I felt so like by the end, or even like by the end of the first episode, I felt like honored, and I felt like this is so special that like they're saying so much. They're like royals have never done this, and this felt like where it was heading, where royals, the younger royals, would like be able to have open conversations about this. That was like my hope even back when it was Will and Kate. When Will and Kate and Harry were hosting the Obamas, like they would maybe eventually get to that place where they would have like really open discussions about mental health, really open discussions about racism, really open discussions about, you know, misogyny, every other kind of prejudice. Like that's where it should go. That's like, I mean, yeah, I that was my hope. That hope was dashed. Then it was reignited with Harry and Meghan. Although now Harry and Meghan are kind of detached from that royal structure, and they're having those tough conversations. They're acknowledging ugly parts of the BRF's history. They're acknowledging ugly parts of our world, and I love that. And I hope I feel it now so much more. Like we're just getting started. Yeah, they're so in sync. I love them. I like. Oh, I hate this almost because like the more like emotionally tied, I guess, to them that I get, the more it's gonna hurt. But then also, at least like right now, I'm feeling like indifferent. So it's like a numbness to it, like an acceptance. Like, of course not. Like, of course they're not gonna be different. Of course this was not gonna like change people. But it exists, and it can be used, and it will exist forever. And there's never gonna be a, oh, Harry was just crazy. Harry was so confident. Oh my gosh, like I already pretty much thought he was a boss, but he's a boss. He's like, oh my gosh, he knows what he's doing. He's a smart man. He's like really in control. You really see that, and I get now their protector, their dynamic of Harry wanting to protect her. It was like that's like the beginning of their relationship was like it was founded on, you know, Harry having to assure her Botswana is safe. You know, I'll protect you, and now like that's their dynamic, and it's really quite beautiful, and it's old-fashioned chivalry. It's like all the good hallmarks of a man. Like if we're going off stereotypes, these are the good ones. And of course, like I've said in the last video I uploaded, the bad guys in any given situation, they will always lie. They will always reframe good as bad. That is why they are dangerous, because they will reframe good as bad. They will say a man who protects his family, who is loving, who doesn't take abuse from his other family, he's bad because he's, you know, contradicting, not fully upholding the like white male supremacy dominance structure thing that they're so used to and prefer, and he leans left, so that's just that makes it worse. I really feel I love that. I love that I know it. I love that we got to see it, and I like, thank you. It's like I feel honored to have been let into their world, because it's such a like, it's a sweet dynamic they've got, and their babies. Oh, Archie. Oh my gosh, and I get that, by the way, that feeling of wanting to share your kid with people who you know will appreciate them, because like every little thing they do is just so like funny and cute and silly and sweet and obnoxious and annoying too. But there's so many cute moments, and you just want to like, hey guys, look what my kid did, and like, yeah, and you want to share that with the fans, because surely Meghan knows she's got fans. She definitely does, and supporters. But you know, in the mix of supporters, when it's the public, there's so much hate and racist hate, and they are not shy about being cruel to Meghan. they're like openly hostile towards her, and her kid. That's the bigger thing. They're nasty to her kid, and they don't care. And they're bad people. Evil exists, and I don't know what it's gonna take to stop them. Maybe they'll never stop, but neither will good. Good will never stop either. So yeah, it was so good. Speaking of good, they're so lovely. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so good. I'm trying to think of the highlights. I should have written notes, but I thought I'll remember it. And I even considered doing one. Oh, maybe I will do that. Reviewing each one individually. We'll see. But like right now, I'm just like, I just wanted to do my immediate reaction, and 5 stars. It was so great. All three parts. I loved all 3 parts. Maybe they do need more attention though. More like each part maybe needs a video. I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I loved it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was like a big moment. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I said I love how she explained her relationship with her half-sister. I love how she explained, I didn't know she was close to her niece. I didn't know that. It's heartbreaking that Jason Knopf made her think, you know, that's like, it's not a good look if she invites her niece to her wedding. And I love that they shared though the root of their relationship, and how good it was, and how sweet it was, and how real it was. And I even wonder if maybe Jason Knopf like convinced her, just like he's the one who convinced her to write a letter to her father, and then he's like convincing her to, oh my gosh, just, I feel like I know them now in a different way. But okay, I like, and so like I feel that feeling, just having been in their world, it makes me see them in like weird, these new eyes of like, I don't know, like this is this added layer to their humanity and their experience, and it makes me even more angry, like the betrayal that went down. How could you have a hand in it? Which I think is what's coming next. Could be wrong, but it certainly feels like that's where we're going. Like, clearly, like, why would all of the negative or critical press of Kate and William just stop? Like, who, like, and these are the, like, very obvious tells, obvious, like, things you can see where a change happened to favor William and Kate, and shit on Meghan, and like they seem to try and avoid shitting on Harry because they were hoping to split them up, get him back, just crazy shit like that. And it's like, in that too, like just that is like so their love is so unique, like that level of love. There's like, it's not tolerating each other, it's not you're of good breeding, it's not you're quiet, you'll follow rules, because that's the vibe you get. Like, Kate was disappointing, like all on my own I observed that. Like because I had these big, like, not dreams, but like I thought she was gonna be like, she was gonna be more, say more, do more, and she was the opposite. Maybe I was thinking she was gonna be like Diana, but of course not. I said this before. Diana was a mistake. Like they would have raised William to never recreate that, never get a woman like Diana. And then the way these royalists try to say Kate is like Diana, what are you talking about? She is the opposite. That's why William chose her. They don't want another Diana. They don't want another one. It's you know, Kate is mute, and she doesn't speak unless spoken to. She has no passions about anything specific. She seems to look at what the bare minimum is and think to herself, how can I do less than that though? It's like, she's so like not passionate. She's like, oh, after 10 years she made another statement about we really need to focus on those first 5 years, guys. Don't forget. Alright, bye. See you in another decade. Like, this does not work. Okay, yeah, I feel like I cut myself off and forgot to say something earlier. Liz Garbus really knows what she's doing. Like, oh, something random I thought of saying earlier. Man, I'm sure I'm gonna regret when I listen back to this. I'm like kind of all over the place. It should have been more structured. Sorry. But something I thought of is my disappointment, especially with like the Shade Room, just anywhere that's like very black centric, just not, they have such power to like really expose stuff, and they don't. Like, that would have been that should be a place that is really for Meghan, and like there's no like big space that's like talking about all the stuff I've seen, like exposing how William betrayed his brother, exposing how William betrayed his mother. It's like no one with a big platform will just say the stuff that needs to be said. And it's like, I get it, because like I deal with normies. Most of the people I know are not in these conversations. They're so clueless. So it's like, that was like, when I came into this, I was like, how are people who watch this, who are normies, gonna like understand what's going on? But they explained it very well. So I don't know, we'll see. The racists don't care. Like, that's like, the racists have dug their heels in the ground about what they have decided Meghan is, which is their enemy, and that will never change. Like, even if you take away all of their bullshit excuses, they'll just tell you, oh, well, she's fake. They'll go back to the day one insult, which is that she's fake. What does that mean? Like, because she's doing her job with a smile, and what, you don't believe her? What are you saying? What is, like, even if that were true, that doesn't, like, she's still doing the job. Like, again, as I said in, I think the last part, or the last video, everyone does like some level of fakery for their customer service jobs, for their job, not just their customer service, for any job. You don't come, you had a fight with your boyfriend, your husband, your dad, your mom, your wife, your girlfriend, your kids, your kid, something bad happened, that has shaken your mood, put you in a sour mood. You're on your period. Anything could like make you not in a good mood. And Kate and Meghan alike, they're not allowed to like, look frown, they have to like smile. And same with Harry and William. And it's like that's what's expected of them as royals, but that's what's expected of like almost everyone who has a job. You're not usually gonna cry at work about it. You're gonna like put on your work face, do your job, whatever it is, especially if it's customer service, and then you go home and you cry. Or you go to your car and you cry, or whatever. So like this, even that accusation is so absurd and illogical. It doesn't make sense. It's like they never had anything. They started inventing things, running with every tabloid story. Like, ooh, yes, give me another bullshit thing I can say. Ooh, she glued whose eyes shut? Ooh, she kicked Charlotte in the shins. Oh boy. There were some moments too where I thought they were gonna say certain things that they didn't quite say, but they seemed to be alluding to. Yeah, but I don't want to make this too long, so I'm gonna I think I'm gonna go and forgive me, and I'm gonna tell myself, forgive yourself for because I know I'm gonna be editing this. I'm gonna be like, oh, you started to say this and then you interrupted yourself and you never got back to that point. You're so freaking annoying. Sorry me. But yeah, overall 10 out of 10, 5 stars, amazing, so well done. I love the soundtrack. I love Harry and Meghan's love. I love their babies. I love their world. I love their support. Harry is smart. He knows what he's doing. I don't know, there was something about his way he carries himself. He's like, I don't know, he's smart. He's like he knows what he's doing. I really adore him, and he's trying, man. he's trying, he's so open and real, and they were both open, and it's like I was just seeing like the history of Harry's family, and you know, all of that colliding with Meghan, and she's just like a woman in love, a girl in love, and I can feel it. I can feel that. Like have you ever been in love, people? It's like, especially American love, because I don't know, maybe the English really can't relate, especially the older ones, because there a lot of them are getting divorced. A lot of Meghan's biggest detractors are like, they're like caught up in all these ugly relationship things. And one just got one, like, what is it, the chatting ladies? There's some show about like chatting ladies, and one of them was a big Meghan critic, and she's getting divorced. And yeah, their love is so like and he's like legit happy in America, and they're like, I'm so glad they found each other, and sort of by chance. It's so lovely. It's so sweet. It's so perfect, but not perfect, but in a way perfect. And I love that she's like living, loving her life, and he is too. And then we got to see them recently, and it's like now seeing them, it's like I see them in kind of a different way again now. Like just recalling them at what is it called, the Ripple of Hope Awards. They were like, oh yeah, that's their dynamic. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. All right. Enough gushing. It was great. It was great. Watch it yourself, and if you tell me what you think, comment, like, subscribe, all the jazz you do on YouTube. Thank you for listening. Bye.